This is the Tron Model Hyper Agent Gridman from the show SSSS.Gridman, a 2018 studio trigger show based off of the 90s Denkou Choujin Gridman. And that's most I'll say about SSSS.Gridman for now. I'll save my full thoughts for a video in the future. And I will again note this is a model kit, which means you have to cut out the pieces and put them together yourself. And you can watch my full build of that on the channel, links in the description. And with that being said, let's start the review. This figure looks pretty great. The sculpt work on the parts is pretty good, and proportionately it looks the best out of all of the other Gridman figures out there. But I will point out a common theme I see when it comes to Gridman figures. The circular piece that's supposed to be just by Gridman's shoulders is mounted on the shoulder pad itself. It's an inaccuracy that I'm willing to let slide due to the fact that if the circular piece was where it should be, it would make the articulation a bit limited. But as much as I do like the sculpting of it, I guess it's my own incompetency that makes this model look like absolute garbage. It has so many seam lines, and that's really all my fault, and that also leads me to my next point, the build quality. I've built only 2 models before this one, and they were both pleasant experiences, but Gridman on the other hand, I enjoyed building him, but there's a lot of fitting issues with this model kit. I know this is a master grade type model and both of the models I previously built were high grades, but even so, this build for Gridman is a bit of a pain in the ass. Some of the parts just don't want to cooperate sometimes, like the eyes that took me like 10 minutes to shove into the sockets. And my biggest problem are these shoulder butterfly joints. It's an incredibly stupid design and it took way too much just to get them on. I ended up super gluing them together. This is Tron Model's first model kit, so I guess it's a bit understandable, but it doesn't mean it's not a stupid design. And I realize I haven't even talked about the painting on the model. Besides the panel lining, I didn't really go out of my way to paint this model kit. Yes, all of this color, it's all color separation, no stickers needed. We do have the foam on the bottom of the feet, but that doesn't really bother me. They are technically optional, but I do want to paint this model kit sometime in the future, because as much as I do like the white plastic here, I would have preferred if they used a light gray plastic, because in the show, Gridman is a more gray with a blue tint. Nowhere near just plain white. Now let's look at the head. It looks like Gridman and I really like it, but I will note that the eyes look kinda dead, you can barely see it. It's actually a transparent piece, and that's because if you go to the back of the figure and press this cleverly hidden button, the figure lights up. Looks excellent, but I do have a slight issue on my copy where the button doesn't always work, and that get a bit annoying. And also, I would have liked to see a way for the eyes to look alive without me having to turn on the lights. I don't want to keep it on. I don't want the lights to lose battery anytime soon, which runs off of 2 LR41 batteries that are installed right out of the box. Gridman doesn't come with much, but what he does come with are pretty cool. First of all, several extra hands. They all look pretty good, but I do have a slight issue with the variety. It's not a huge selection, but it's not bad. And to put in the gripping hands, you get Samurai Caliber. This looks really cool, but unfortunately, this isn't the best. There's some missing detail on the black part, and the axe of the caliber looks a little bit too small for my taste. And speaking of the axe part, you need to place a sticker on it. With the amount of part separation that's on the main figure, I'm kinda disappointed that they had to implement stickers onto the axe part. And is it just me, or is the blade just way too small? It's kinda accurate, but it's a bit too small in my opinion. Which is why we have this really exaggerated style blade. Looks excellent, and I definitely prefer this over the original blade. Gridman also comes with another primal acceptor, and the main difference for this one is that it doesn't come with that yellow gem, and that's because this piece is for putting on some of the extra effect parts onto Gridman. This first one is the Grid Lightsaber, which I forgot even existed. It was only really there for one episode of the show, episode 7, where Sky Gridman appears, and hopefully we get a Sky Vitter sometime soon, because I love the look for the Sky Gridman. And the second one is the Grid Beam. Looks pretty good, but it could still look even better. Maybe an orange and white drivers in the order of both pieces. And to keep up the Grid Beam, you have this stand piece, which doesn't really do much since Gridman can hold up the Grid Beam no problem. So why does this even exist when Gridman himself doesn't have a display stand, making it a bit of a pain in the ass to do these rotation shots? What the hell, Tron Model? The articulation's range is actually pretty good, and it better be. Gridman does go toe-to-toe with Kaiju. But as you can see, it's not hyper-articulated, especially the abdominal section. That ab crunch and the swivel is kinda disappointing, considering that the rest of the articulation's range is actually amazing. And there's also a lot of moving armor parts, so look out for that. But as much as the range is amazing, I do want to say there's a lot of joint tolerance issues here. Some joints are actually overly tight, such as these ratcheted butterfly joints, the outwards hinge at the shoulder, and the bicep swivel. And if you ever get this figure and notice that these joints are too tight, I recommend getting a pair of scissors and just gently scraping the insides just to loosen up the joints a bit. And that's what I did. And now my joints feel nice and smooth, but still tight enough for posing. Gridman's a giant mecha, so of course he deserves to be of a large size. 9 inches is an amazing size for this figure, and I'm glad that I got this over the Figma. Yes, I'm throwing shade at them even in the video about a model kit, because where the hell is Figma Yuta Hibiki, goddamn! Overall, this figure is pretty good. Definitely the best Gridman figure out as of now. And if you're in the mood to get it, I say it's definitely worth it. But I will warn you, the build and the plastic quality definitely isn't like Bandai's, so expect to do a lot of modification on the figure. But once you do, you'll love this figure. It's really fun and looks really good, and definitely a good buy for any SSSS.Gridman fan. And hopefully Tron Model fixes the issues I have with this figure, because I'm really looking forward to their Grid Night model kit. And I'm slowly realizing that my wallet is in constant danger. I mean, just look at the figure list that I have. That's only the first page.